Good afternoon and welcome to our channel again. Today we're just going to talk about a couple things in the shop. I've got an oil change to do on that Tacoma back there. Here's a Subaru that has turned into a bit of a nightmare for us and our customer, and that is a new thing I got, OTC engine slash drivetrain lift mechanism. Just one of the guys is putting it together. We just need to make sure don't lay on the gas tank or your leg and your arm might come off. So this thing is cool. I've been thinking about this for a year or two. That's kind of your finished product there. It's pretty large. It's about 5 feet long. Got a waist height here. It's air hydraulic lifting and lowering table. This will come up. It's very heavy, and it's connected to the ram too right now. But big tables on there. Got some like wooden 4x4 type things. And what this is used for is safely lifting, lowering gas tanks, subframes, transmissions, engines, things like that. So this may replace, in many cases, the traditional transmission jack that we use all the time. This Subaru is a 14 Forester. Customer complaint was a roaring noise in the back, and test drove. Got a bad wheel bearing, wheel hub assembly. I like to sell both on the same. So this is the rear, right rear. I like to sell both, so I sold him the left rear at the same time. Thinking there is, they have had the same life. They are the same part. They will fail around the same time. Have had many, especially on the front of cars, that because of I guess whenever there's CV axles in play, that the noise will echo across, and you'll actually have one that's real loud and a second one that is also making noise, but you don't know that until you've replaced the first one, and then you get to call them back and say, oh, by the way, there was a second noise, and then there's all that to deal with. And I don't do this just to sell people up on a second repair. But indeed, if it were mine, which I've done on, that is my Tacoma up there, done those front wheel bearings twice, only because one was bad, but both get replaced for that reason, because same type of part, same life, same failure. So that just saves people from having to do things twice. Now this one, the Subaru, the hub would not come out of the knuckle. Like, this is from New York, I think New York. We are in North Carolina. These people moved down here recently. We torched, we beat this snot out of this thing. I used a 5-foot pry bar in multiple locations, while one of the guys air hammered from the rear of this thing. It is seized like crazy in the knuckle. So that is where it has turned into a nightmare for the customer. Now you see this backing plate is all jacked up. That's okay. We decided at the beginning of the repair that just go ahead and damage those, because I want to find the torque spec for the axle nuts for the tech. And during that process on my software, I said service bulletin on a hub. That's kind of weird, so I looked at that. Apparently there is a redesigned brake backing plate that has some different dimensions. Using the original design, this one, the bearing can be sort of squished or oblong, like it's not round when you tighten it up on the old style. So they've refined some design points, and now we have 2 new back end plates coming, so I said go ahead and smash those. No big deal. They're rusted and really coming apart anyway, but that's beside the point. So this one has turned into 2 hubs, 2 back end plates, 2 knuckles, new axle, nuts. I always, if I can source them, which is almost all the time, I always replace the axle nuts. They're supposed to be one use on almost everything. Also, like Infiniti Nissan, they have a TSB where you're supposed to put anti-seize on splines, like on the fronts of their SUVs. If you don't, and I've had this happen, this is how I learned about it. If you don't, then it makes a clicking noise when you're kind of accelerating. Pretty weird, but the way I found out about it, we did a job like about a year ago, and I went to drive around front. I parked it, and I heard this clicking noise. I'm like, that's odd. So somehow I searched, and I found on our software that there was a service bulletin, just apply some anti-seize. So instead of bringing it back in the shop, I popped off the wheel center cap, loosened it out in the parking lot, pushed the axle through the hub where I could see the splines on the backside, painted it on there with my brush, and then reassembled in the parking lot, torqued it to spec in the parking lot, and that was that. That is the Subaru. Big nightmare here. I mean, you can see some rust stuff occurring. One of the upper control arm bolts in the back got damaged. It was corroded, so it was stuck, and he had to be hit that real hard to get it out too, and we got to get a new bolt as well. So lots of work here. Here are those backing plates. They came. New nuts came. Wheel hubs came. Just waiting on the knuckles, which the knuckle is this cast steel whole part here that the hub bolts to, and the suspension pieces bolt around various spots. So last thing for today, my Tacoma, don't judge me, 03, double cab, V6, automatic. They didn't make manual in that, but supercharged. I flew up to Rhode Island, I think it was, I don't know, like 5 years ago, because I found this thing on the internet, and I just had to have it. I was transitioning from a 96 Tacoma extended cab, which wouldn't hold a car seat back at that point, and I found this, and I was like, that's the truck for me. It has some frame damage that I'm not going to show you because it's embarrassing for me, but that'll be repaired one day whenever I get enough time. There's a company from up north that makes these super great plates that basically for the whole frame, because this is the years where they had the corrosion problems on the frame. Luckily, pretty much like cab forward of mine is good, but cab back, like that'll get these really large plates that go over and inside and outside. They fit real nice. They get welded on. I might do that. If I do, I'll make a video, but I've been putting it off for like 2 years, so I might source that out since I don't have much time. Anyway, let's get on to changing the oil. I change my oil every 3,000 miles. This is above what I tell my customers to do. Customers, synthetic blends, conventional, whatever you want to call it, 3,000 miles, full synthetic 5. I do 3K, and I'm using full synthetic all the time. I like Castrol Edge. I've read good things about it and seen some good reports. Pennzoil Platinum also gets highly rated as well. I don't tend to use anything that you can't buy locally just because it's hard to get. And then I always just source out quality oil filters just because I'm a nerd and I care about that. But this is Toyota OE. I think the one that's coming off here is a blue Purolator, and I will get to it. Got my 14 and a torque wrench. and my cheap oil filter pliers. I have a remote oil filter mounting kit. It is right up here, so I don't really have to take off the skid plate. I'll show you my flexible funnel that'll help us get the oil from dripping all over the place, and we'll get going. All right, under the truck, there's a million oil change videos out there, so you can listen to me talking while we do this. We have a 14 up in the skid plate. Toyota skid plates are the absolute worst. The bolts on them are like always cross-threaded. We're just gonna let this fly here. There we go. New crush washer. Like I said in another video, I keep the Honda ones like 100 in a pack always. Same with these Toyota ones. I got this blue like paper stuff on the aluminum crush washer. Yeah, let that drain. Good. I believe the capacity is 5.5 quarts for the 3.4 V6. I will have to double check because I really don't remember. But I mean, even at 3,000 miles, I'm a little over. Let's say 3,500. The oil's still pretty gross. So, you know, these long oil change intervals, especially for newer cars that have all the variable valve timing stuff and parts that can get all caked up with gunk, and you know, we tend to see a lot of problems when people do these super long 7, 8, 9, 10 plus thousand mile oil changes. Over time, you just have crap accumulating, and then it causes problems. It gets in those cam actuator solenoids, messes those up. It gets in the actuators when it passes through the solenoids, and then you're talking timing chain at that point. So yeah, let's just keep it low and not have to worry about that potentially. So aside from the oil change, it's good to look around. There's a bunch of oil residue up there as well. We did valve cover gaskets on this probably like 5-6 months ago, and I don't drive a ton to work, so I haven't changed this oil in probably a year. But that is like residue from that coming down. Quick note on the 3.4 liter valve cover gaskets, gasket jobs, valve covers in general. Don't go over tightening those little 10 millimeter bolts that are around the valve cover. There is no like limit stopper that would stop the valve cover from flexing, and the little ears can snap and crack. Then you're gonna have to buy a whole new valve cover. You'll see on forums or on YouTube or whatever, people will say, oh, just you got a leak on the 3.4, just go around and tighten those up. But the torque spec, top of my head, it's like 7 foot-pounds. It's like nothing. You can do it with your hand on like a driver. It's like nothing. So overdoing that cracks the ears. And then when you ultimately get the valve covers replaced, valve cover gaskets replaced at a shop or yourself, then you have to go spend $200 more each on the valve cover because you did that. So something to look out for, something not to do. I'm gonna go ahead and spray off this oily junk just because this is the first time I've been under here in that time. spraying this off also then allows you to find other leaks in the future. That's just another way of keeping things clean that you know about, monitoring things. If you're doing things yourself, that's always a good tip there. Alright, so I've got that remote oil filter mounting set there. We're going to spill some, I'm sure. But this is way better than taking off the skid plate. This is a flexible funnel by, I thought it was Lyle, but it's not. I don't remember. So it's got some flexible material inside, and it's going to help us kind of catch and grip that where we want it to go, and then we're going to spray off the rest. The funnel is under the filter, and it's just going to kind of run down there, I hope. There we go. This 520. We're probably not going to answer that right now. There were days early in the shop when we were not so busy. It's very slippery. It's hard to get a hold of. But there were days where I'd be doing something like this, and I'd just stop and grab the phone because I needed to work. I've been quite lucky and happy that that is not the case. Most people leave messages nowadays. Remember to check for your old gasket. OE Toyota filter adapter, snake it in there, and then remember we're just going to hand tight, and then I like to grab it with a rag to do the final tightening. Oil filters are hard to spin when they're super slimy and covered with oil. Alright, so it is up in there tight after this. Wipe everything off. Pull out the flexible funnel. Forma funnel, I think is what it's called. Got some drips down there. Spray that off. So that flexible funnel in this case saves a few minutes, saves the hassle of those nuts, which are always like corroded, rusted, cross-threaded, whatever. And I like that adapter kit. I want to say the old filter originally goes like behind this kind of mud guard, like horizontally. I can't remember. It's been a long time. We put that in like 5 years ago, like right when I bought the truck, because I didn't have it on my old one, and I wanted one. Alright, so we've got our Lyle funnel and adapter screwed in there. We're going to pour in some oil and crank this thing up. this oil funnel adapter screws into the threads, makes it real fast to just dump in 5 quarts. You don't have to hold the funnel in most cases, and it also prevents a lot of cars like have a baffle right under the oil cap. So if you have a regular funnel, they will just, you have the potential to overflow it because of that baffle is stopping the flow and causing a big old mess. So 5.5 of the Castrol 530 going in. And I will check the stick. I like to check before I crank it, just to make sure we're kind of in the ballpark. About a quarter. That's perfect. So, remove tools. Don't forget to put your oil cap back on. Cap here. And here is a quick shot of my engine bay. Little supercharger, makes a little whine. Parts I've replaced under here: alternator, timing belt, kit, water pump, all that. The fan pulley bracket, that'll make a noise on these cars. Fan clutch, belts, hoses, all that good stuff. Don't make fun of my corroded battery terminals and somewhat sketch wiring, but I do have a second battery in the back of the truck. So, and that's just another day here at the shop. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Put me some comments down below. Let me know if today was a little better with the fan noise, that fan noise in the shop. I'm gonna look for a Bluetooth wireless mic here shortly. I want to get some time, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks.